So thanks again, everybody, for joining us for this Lunch and Learn. It's going to be presented by Ms. Kim Walker of Shop Marketing Pros. We're going to talk about Nextdoor and what it can do for you. Take it away.
All right, so let me share my screen. And I know that it is lunchtime, so I'm going to stick to our time schedule and honor that for everybody although not everybody's in North Carolina, as you see, so depending on where you are, it may not be lunchtime, it could be breakfast, but thank you for joining us. Thank you, Maddie and IGONC. Brian and I, though we live in Louisiana, we lived in North Carolina for 10 years, and that's where we owned we had several shops in North Carolina, and we participated in IGONC, great organization. So thank you for having me. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in because, again, I want to honor your time, but I do want to let you know that I will be emailing you this presentation. So if you hate taking notes, sit back, relax, maybe eat your lunch, do whatever you're doing. I'll send you this presentation and you can have it that way. But of course, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. And we're going to talk about the Nextdoor app. So I do want to just ask you real quick, if y'all will just look at your Zoom app there, give me a thumbs up if you are currently using the Nextdoor app. Have you claimed your listing? Are you actively okay? So a couple people. Now, don't be afraid, totally okay. You're in good company if you're like, hey, I'm taking this class just because I don't know what Nextdoor is. So give me a thumbs up if you're like, I don't really know. I don't really know, but I know I need to know. Thanks, John, for being honest. There you go. Awesome. And Jimmy. Okay. So, all right, let me minimize this little Zoom thing and get going here. So I will tell you that the Nextdoor is an app, right? It's on you can access it on your desktop computer, but it's really intended to be on the mobile device. If you are not actively using it for yourself or for your shop, you definitely want to go and grab yourself an account. And I'm going to take you through today. I'm going to give you some screenshots. I'm going to explain to you what Nextdoor is and how you can use it for your shop. So this is a quick beginner intro. Let's just take a 10,000 foot view of the Nextdoor app and how it relates to you as a shop owner. So the Nextdoor app started in 2010. And normally, just because I'm in the marketing sort of technology kind of world, my family usually comes to me when there's something new out there. And the funny thing is my sister, who is not into any of this kind of stuff, she messaged me one day and she was like, hey, are you using the Nextdoor app? This thing's really cool. And I'm like, no, I've never heard of it. And I kind of discounted it because of my sister. And usually she's just not into that stuff. And so then I heard some other people talking about it. I downloaded it and I really like it. And so I've been using it for, I don't know, 8 years maybe. And I come and go and I get in there and I ask things when I need to. But Nextdoor is a really cool app that allows you to kind of get involved in your local neighborhood. I'm going to give you some stats here, and then I am going to show you some screenshots. But it's essentially another, calm down, but it is another social network that is really intended to be on a micro local level. It's really about your neighborhood. So like I live in Hammond, Louisiana. Hammond, Louisiana has about 30,000 people that live here when college is in session. We're a college town. When college is not in session, we kind of cut in half. But if you took our community and you broke it into actual neighborhoods, some of them are considered actual subdivisions, but I don't live in a subdivision. I live in downtown. And so this little downtown area is called the Kate neighborhood. And so I go into Nextdoor and literally using my address, I define the actual neighborhood that I'm in. And then just like say Facebook, for example, there's a news feed where people are posting in that app talking about everything from events that are going on, to I lost my dog, or who is the best mechanic for my Honda Accord, whatever it might be. So it's just a private social network that connects you to your local neighborhood. There's over 10 million users there now. Recommendations is a really big deal on Nextdoor, just like you're thinking about reviews on Facebook, reviews on Google My Business. Recommendations is a very big part of the Nextdoor app. And it is currently in over 90% of the neighborhoods in the United States. So it's very active. And the whole thing that brought this class up is that as we've been meeting with shops, we are hearing more and more and more questions about Nextdoor. Are you managing Nextdoor for shops? Does my shop need to be on Nextdoor? Is it important? Do I really need to add that into my marketing mix? But lots of questions. So JR, who was on our team, messaged me one day and he was like, "Hey, I'm getting a lot of questions about this." So we started talking more and more about it, and I've been using it myself personally, for, like I said, for many years. And so I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely a good thing for shops. So you definitely want to get in there and explore your neighborhood, if you will, to see the activity and what's going on in there. And you may find that it's very active in your neighborhood, but you may find that that it's not. And so then you might be the pioneer in your community to be involved in it. So that's always a cool thing as well. And when I say neighborhoods, when you get in there, you would identify yourself with this particular neighborhood, but you can also align yourself or kind of connect yourself to adjacent neighborhoods. So, for example, if you personally needed to share that your dog went missing, you would want to put that in the neighborhood that you're in, but also the neighborhoods right around you, depending on how big they are. So that's something to think about. And it's just a great place for you to make connections in your neighborhood and let people know who you are as a business. So how can you use Nextdoor? Currently, and I'm going to take you through these steps, but once you go into the Nextdoor app and you've created your personal profile, right? You can do that. But then you're going to, and I've got a link in here that I'll show you where you're going to go to actually claim your business listing. And when you do that, Nextdoor is giving you 2 free posts per month. And you may be wondering, because we're so used to, say, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, where there's a lot more posts going on. 2 posts per month is really okay on the Nextdoor app, because you can go engage other than that, but creating 2 posts per month, you can do that for free on the Nextdoor app. Use those 2 posts wisely. You want to be the connecting type of person. You want to be helpful. Let them know that you're there to help and what you're able to do. This is going to help you stay top of mind. And then, of course, if you're posting already, say on Facebook or Instagram, you're sharing tips or helpful information, you already have content at your disposal that you can share to help educate your community. If you have a blog post that's talking about maybe how do I know if my battery needs replacing, or how can I improve the performance of my vehicle, whatever it might be. A lot of people are asking about when they're buying a vehicle, what do they need to check out before they buy it? So you could talk about pre-purchase inspections. But where you might typically on Facebook really want to be more engaging and fun and conversational, Nextdoor, it's okay that these 2 posts are on the more promotional side. But keep in mind that you can be promotional and still be fun and engaging and helpful. So keep that in mind. And then there's also a photo gallery there for your shop where you can add photos about your business. So obviously a good photo of the front of your business. What are people seeing as they're driving by? You can include photos of your team members, what the lobby looks like, any of that kind of stuff. So photos are definitely great. And then I'm going to show you some more things that you can do. You can also create local deals. So Not everyone is into coupons and special offers. I understand. I know that that very often does not bring in the right type of customer, but if you are experiencing a slow day or a slow week and you wanted to put something out there, that is a great thing that you can do on the Nextdoor app. And maybe, obviously put a call to action in there to tell them that when they call you, to let you know that they saw you on Nextdoor so you can track and see where things are coming from. Be clear in your offer. Again, use images to make it visually appealing and interesting to your neighbors that are looking at your deals. One of the things that you can do that's very helpful, and it's also really inexpensive on Nextdoor, is it's called sponsoring a neighborhood. So when you sponsor a neighborhood, you're going to pick, like I said, the neighborhood that your shop is in. Um, and these are also, so I haven't seen, but only a few times where you had to put yourself on a waiting list because Nextdoor um, doesn't want that feed to be overwhelming with sponsored type things. So they only allow a certain number of businesses to sponsor that neighborhood. So when you get on, create your profile for your business, claim it, optimize it, make sure, look, what I like to say, we're building a house right now. I think I mentioned that earlier. And so I'm not going to really invite friends over to my house until it's organized. I've unpacked. It's nice and clean and it's decorated. Don't promote or invite people over to your Nextdoor profile until it's complete. You've got pictures on there, you've got your logo on there, you've got all the information that needs to be there. So when you get on and you select the neighborhood that you're in, Nextdoor is going to obviously encourage you to be a sponsor. And the prices are different depending on the competitive nature of that particular neighborhood, where you are, the number of users there are. But I've seen it like $35 a month. And that's really inexpensive. So super, super cool thing for you to check out once you've got your profile completely set up and ready. If that neighborhood is already full of sponsors, then Nextdoor is going to encourage you to add yourself to the waiting list, but it will also recommend adjacent or neighboring neighborhoods, and it will show you where they are. So you'll know, if I owned a shop here in Hammond, Ponchatoula, and I'm in Louisiana, so we have weird, crazy names like Chapatoulas in New Orleans, but Ponchatoula is the neighboring actual city. It's about 7 miles from here, and given the roads and it's not too far for people that live in Ponchatoula to bring their vehicle to Hammond. So I would be very comfortable if I were a shop owner in Hammond being a sponsor for the Ponchatoula community if the Hammond one was full. So the other thing that sponsoring a neighborhood will do is it does allow you to create more posts. And some of those posts might be to go out there, as you see here, is to use it to share what your expertise is. If you're a European shop, or if you're specializing in Audi and that's all you want to work on, you certainly can promote that as your particular niche that you're working in. Answering questions. So if you see in the feed that someone is asking a question, you can go answer that question on behalf of your shop and get involved in that conversation. But you can also ask questions just to get that conversation going. And that's what you see here with engaging the local community. You can do that with questions, you can post, you can, I know right now during COVID, lots of people aren't necessarily having events that are face-to-face, but when we resume back to somewhat of a more normal life and we're having those events, you can post those and encourage engagement that way, as well as creating polls and those questions. Okay. Keep in mind that the Nextdoor app is going to be the place where you're really going to be able to help your neighbors get to know you. You can use your posts on Nextdoor to give them reason to trust you and like you. People like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So keep that in mind as you're creating the posts and the engagement that you're doing on the Nextdoor app. So I want to show you a quick little video here that is from Nextdoor. It's on the YouTube channel. Again, I'm going to send this presentation to y'all. So if you're relaxing, this will come in an email to you. But let me go ahead and share this quick little video. All right, so that link right there will take you, but let me show you your next steps um, to utilizing the Nextdoor app. Oh, sorry. Okay, so you're actually going to go to business.nextdoor.com. Keep in mind that there's an app for the phone, and I would definitely recommend that you download that app and utilize that when you can. It's a more friendly experience that way. That's what it's organically designed to be used on is the phone, but you can do this from your desktop as well. So go to business.nextdoor.com, and what you're going to see there, it's going to ask you to claim your listing, and you're going to select that you're a professional business. And when you do that, the next screen is going to have you enter the address for your business. So you'll enter the name, you'll enter the address. And I will tell you that yesterday I was just claiming this for a shop, and I typed in their name and their address, and you would think that that's what would come up at the very top of the search listing, but it didn't. I had to scroll quite a bit. So don't give up, because most likely your business is already listed there. It's been, I don't even know that I have found um, any business I've worked with where they weren't there and I had to add them. You can add them, but do the search and look through the whole list before you go to create one, because you definitely don't want to end up with duplicate listings. That is going to be a huge pain. So you're going to go through the prompts. It's going to ask you, just like most other apps, to enter a phone number. If there's not already a phone number listed, that you can then have them call to give a security code to, so that you can claim your listing. Here's the thing, as on Facebook, you may be the one who created your Facebook page and you may add me as an admin. Nextdoor does not work that way. Only one person currently can have ownership or access to that particular business listing. And so we typically don't operate in that way where we want to get your login and password. We very rarely ever do that. Or for example, if we build websites, so if we're building a website, we're not the owner of your domain. We don't think that's a good best practice. However, with Nextdoor, if you already have claimed that listing and you're working with someone in marketing who is going to manage that for you, you either have to transfer ownership to them or give them your login and password. So that's not necessarily, makes me super happy. I would rather you have ownership of it and make me an admin of it. But you're a busy shop owner. So currently, the way Nextdoor is operating, if you want someone to manage it for you and just take that off of your plate so that you don't have to deal with it, then just know that you're going to have to allow them to claim access to your profile. And I will be taking a peek at the questions tab. If anybody has questions, just put it in there. I'll take a peek at that here in just a few minutes. Also, my email address is kim@shopmarketingpros.com. So if you have a question, just jot it down, send it over to me, or put it right here in the chat. So the next step, as I mentioned, once you've claimed it, is to actually optimize your listing. We've talked about, like I said, don't invite people over to your house unless it's clean and organized and ready for presenting it to your friends. Same thing with Nextdoor or Facebook or Instagram. Let's have a full, complete profile. And what I mean by that is fill in all the blanks as it takes you through the process, or you go to edit your profile. Just make sure you're filling everything in. There's a place for a description. Obviously, make sure the address is correct, the phone number. Let me talk to you a little bit about the address. And this is just part of basic SEO, search engine optimization, so that when someone is doing a search, you want to come up in those Google search listings. One really important thing is to ensure that your address is listed exactly the same across the board. So the way your address is written on your website, the way your address is written on your Facebook page, your Instagram account, your Google My Business listing. Same thing with Nextdoor. You want to remain consistent. So if you're spelling out the word street, then you want to spell out the word street. If you're going with ST period, make sure you're doing that across the board on all of your listings. So fill in all the blanks, make sure you've added your logo. And let's talk a little bit about that. When you add your logo, you want to add a JPEG. Lots of times I will see where people have their profile, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Nextdoor or whatever it might be, they're using a PNG file or some other file. And so their logo ends up on a black background and it does not look good. So make sure that you are using the proper file. So when you upload your logo, make sure that it looks good. Make sure that it is sized properly. You want your profile to really put your best foot forward and represent your brand the way that you want it to be represented. Then there's a section there where you can include photos, and you can really get on there and add quite a few really good photos. You want people to see and experience your business the way they're going to see and experience it when they walk in the door. So be sure that you're including pictures of the front of the building. That's something that you want them to say, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I drove by there the other day. Include pictures of your service advisors, the lobby, with call, have pictures with cars. A lot of times, especially for like Google My Business, a lot of Google trusted photographers like to come in and take photos either before you open or after you open. It looks super empty, like restaurants, for example. I would encourage you to put some pictures in there that show your business as active and viable. Update your hours, make sure that the location is correct, any contact information, and all of that as well. So I am going to come over here. Let me get this back on my screen, and I'm going to check in with the questions. See if anybody has questions. There's something in the chat there. Okay. Yep. So Jimmy was sending me a message. Jimmy, I think that's exactly what we were just talking about. So awesome. We're on the same page there. Jimmy was just chiming in on the, and it's good that he's here because we're both speaking the same language. So it's good for y'all to know that across the board, we agree that when we're talking about, as I mentioned earlier, when you're adding your address, you need that stuff, unit number. We're in suite C. Is it SUITE? Is it STE? All that stuff. So even if you're adding LLC or Inc. behind your name, all that stuff, just make sure that everything is consistent across the board. All right, so keep putting your questions in there if you have any questions, or shoot me an email. So moving right along, your next step, now that you've decorated your house, everything looks great, you're comfortable, you're confident, keep in mind that if you're not sponsoring, which I'm not telling you to sponsor, I really don't think it's necessary. I think that your first steps are to go through all of this, get into Nextdoor, familiarize yourself with it, feel comfortable with it, use it, see how it's working for you. And then if you want to take it to the next level, you can become a sponsor. But this step number 4 has nothing to do with whether you're a sponsor or not, because you are allowed by Nextdoor to have 2 free posts per month. So the only thing is, if you're using a social media scheduling tool, to schedule your social media out ahead of time. Nextdoor does not have an API that's integrated yet, from what I have found or any of my research, that allows you to schedule your Nextdoor posts ahead of time. So what I would do is just put this as a recurring appointment on your calendar, a quick little reminder, go create a Nextdoor post. So once you've claimed your listing, you've optimized it, everything is in there, pictures, etc., then go ahead and create yourself a first post. Use this as an opportunity to, like I mentioned before, help people get to know you, to like you, to trust you. Maybe don't come in so super salesy and heavy with your very first post, but use that as a chance to just kind of introduce your company to your local neighbors. And what you may find, because we're talking about you're the neighborhood shop, right? Most of the time when you're going to post that, people are going to comment and say, oh yeah, I see you guys all the time. I pass there every day, that sort of thing. So let your community get involved in your post as well. And then step 5 is those recommendations. They're also called hearts. So you're trying to rack up the hearts, and creating a recommendation is super easy, but kind of your first milestone would be to get 5 of them. So if you can set your first goal to get 5 of those hearts or 5 recommendations, that's going to be a really good solid first goal. And you have loyal, happy customers. Start with them. You can think of 5 of them off the top of your head right now. And guess what? You have their cell number. You have all of the tools necessary. Have your service advisor start talking to people. Say, hey, are you using the Nextdoor app? Would you mind writing a recommendation for us in there? And there's lots of tools out there that are available to help you solicit recommendations and reviews on things like Facebook and Google and all of that. Nextdoor is not really doing that, not yet anyway. So this is going to be a more personalized approach, and so you want to reach out and at least get those 5 first recommendations to help build your brand's trust, so that when people are encountering your profile on Nextdoor, they are going to see those hearts, and there's something about that that just lends itself to them getting to know you, like you, and trust you. All right, I'm going to take another quick peek at the questions here. If I can get it to come up, because it's hidden on the screen. Come on. All right, I'll come back to it in just a sec, because I know there's a question in there. All right, step 6. As I mentioned, and I'm putting it here at the end because I'm being intentional about the fact that I don't want you to think you have to do it. And I definitely don't want you to do it before you've done any of the other things that I've already mentioned. But if you get through all of those and you've decided, okay, I want to see what's going to happen whenever I become a neighborhood sponsor, you're not going to have a problem. Just like on Facebook, it's constantly asking you to boost a post or something like that. Nextdoor does the same thing. It's not going to be difficult for you to figure out how to become a sponsor. But once you've gotten your profile in order, you've got recommendations, you feel good about your profile and what you're doing with Nextdoor, then you will see plenty of opportunities where it's asking you to sponsor, and it's going to tell you to select your neighborhood or multiple neighborhoods. And if that neighborhood is full, like I mentioned earlier, then it's going to put you on a waiting list. But I have seen most of the time, honestly, it's around $35. And what that does is it just promotes you as the neighborhood sponsor. It allows you to have more posts. It just gives you a wider reach within the app itself. So then you want to promote that you're on Nextdoor. So let people know. But before you let anybody know, let your team know. One of the biggest oops that I find is when a shop is promoting something, but they haven't let their own team know. And so someone calls and they're like, hey, I want to take advantage of this particular, whatever it is, special offer, promotion, and the people on your team don't even know about it. So first let your whole team, everybody in there know that you have a profile. And that way, if they're using the app, they can help boost that engagement on your profile. So add your Nextdoor logo onto your website, which obviously should link to your profile. Use your existing social media. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be that you're using for your shop, then use that one platform to drive traffic to your Nextdoor app. Include this in your next email campaign, whether you're doing, and let me mention this. So a lot of times your email, I'm not really referencing your transactional based emails, like here's a reminder for your upcoming oil change, or the email or the text with the quote or any of that. I'm talking about email campaigns that are going out to your entire list. Be sure that you include Nextdoor in it along with the link. So maybe at the bottom of your email campaign, you might have Facebook, Instagram, you can add Nextdoor to that. Or you could send an email out to your entire database just with the entire purpose of saying, hey, we are now neighbors on Nextdoor, join us on Nextdoor, write a review, give us a heart, whatever it might be. So, and keep in mind that with email marketing, even if they're not opening that email, your name is still showing up in that inbox. So you're still staying in front of them. So don't be afraid to utilize email, just to let people know, hey, we're over on the Nextdoor app now. And we'd like you to join us over there. So I already told you to tell your team. And then, any other marketing that you're doing. So this is not the be all end all. You want to include this in the whole mix of your marketing so that as you're going forward, you're promoting kind of everything you want. And people typically have to see, hear, feel, experience your message 7 times before they're actually going to do anything with it. So if you're talking to them about being on Nextdoor, on your Facebook page, on your Instagram account, if it's in your email, if they see it on your website, I mean, that's 4 touches right there. So just try to keep this in the conversation as you are incorporating it into multiple areas of your marketing. So here's a couple of examples that I wanted to share with you. And as you see at the top, you want to solidify yourself as the expert in your industry. So offer help, okay? And when I say help, look at the Christian Brothers first example here. Literally, they're helping as related to COVID and how things are in our world right now. They're actually offering to deliver groceries. So think about how that relates to you, to your shop, to your neighbors, to your community, and share on there in the form of a post what you're doing to help your community. The next example, this one is about hiring, and that's obviously something that's across the board in our entire industry, a really big problem. People are having a really hard time finding good mechanics, good technicians. And so you can utilize the Nextdoor app as a way to promote that you're hiring. How you're staying safe, what you're doing. Yes, people are still asking these questions. And I know that it's different wherever you are in the country. I know I was just talking to our friends in Kansas City today, and Missouri's opening up quite a bit. We're down here in Louisiana, and it's opening up more and more here, not so much in New Orleans. And then Florida, of course, is practically wide open. So it just depends on where you are, and so keep that in mind. So let me take a quick peek at some of these questions. Let's see, some of you were talking to each other. Yes, right, Gina, I think it's Gina. On the app, the check mark, notify me by text. So be careful if you're putting your cell number in or your main number because it's text related. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. If I have a personal Nextdoor account, do I need to log? So yes and no. I have 2 Nextdoor accounts. I have my personal one, which is just my Gmail account, but I also have another one And that's mostly because each account, and this doesn't really matter to you guys because you just want to manage your own business, but we manage more than one. And so each account can claim up to 10 business profiles. So you can claim your business profile through your personal app on the Nextdoor app. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. I have, you're asking about videos, and I'm saying that I have seen videos on there, but I'm second guessing myself. John, I'm going to make a note to double check that, because what I don't know is if the videos that I've seen were only for sponsored, like neighborhood sponsors. So, John Wade, I'm going to get back in touch with you. And what I will do, because that question relates to everyone, is when I get the answer to that and we send out I will send you the Zoom recording, but I'll also send you the presentation slides, and I will include the answer to that question in that email. In case it says everyone should see that, but John was asking, will Nextdoor allow videos? And I feel like I've seen videos, but I want to make sure that that was not directly associated with a neighborhood sponsor. So Jimmy, good question. He's asking about the cell phone number, if it's going to mess up the digital footprint for the shop. You want to make sure that the phone number you're putting on your profile is the same phone number that you've got in other places. Having said that, lots of people, when they're doing, say, advertising, they'll create a tracking phone number. And so you might have a tracking phone number that's out there. And so that type of thing, there's a way when you're entering it that you let it know that it's a tracking number. I want you to make sure that when you are using or creating your Nextdoor profile, that you're using the same phone number that is already out there associated with your company. And most of the time, if you are already in that mode of texting, then you have that texting phone number out there as well. I would not use a tracking phone number for Nextdoor unless you are specifically trying to determine how many calls am I getting specifically from the Nextdoor app. So when we're doing advertising for people, we may use a tracking phone number, but we're not putting that phone number on the website, because then every phone number that's coming as a result of the website is being linked to that tracking phone number. So we like to keep our tracking phone numbers specifically for Google ads or Facebook ads that we're using. And then lastly here, just sharing tips. So here's one about the car battery. So these are all examples of posts that you can create that I was mentioning to you, where they're allowing you to have 2 free posts per month. Okay, and I think I may have seen a few more questions popping up over here. Let's see. I lost my questions tab. Here we go. Let me back up. I'll come back to that in just a second. So I am going to wrap up. I'm going to finish answering questions. I did want to give you my contact information here. So that's our phone number, and there's my email address. So if you have any questions at all, if you claim your listing and you're working through it, you have some questions, just shoot it over to me. I'll be happy to help you. And of course, at Shop Marketing Pros, that's what we do. We do marketing. So if you are just overwhelmed with all the things to do, then we would be happy to take that off of your plate, make it easy, and help you with that. So if you want to schedule a quick demo with us, our website is shopmarketingpros.com, and we would be happy to chat with you about any of your marketing needs. But I'm going to stop sharing and get back over here. There we go, to my questions tab. All right, let's see. Typing in business Nextdoor, consumer app. No, great question, Stan. So when you're searching for the app, so if you are an Android user and you're looking in the Google Play Store or Apple in the App Store. It is the same app. So you're going to download the same app. I'm pretty sure though that in order for you to claim your listing, you're going to want to do that from the desktop. So I would say start at the desktop, go create your profile, claim your business, get it situated. And then once all that is set up, then you can start really engaging and utilizing the app on your phone. So, and that's kind of true with most, except for Instagram. Most of the profiles, for example, Facebook, you're going to get a lot more features and access to all the things. You get everything on the desktop. But again, like I said in the beginning, Nextdoor is intended to be used from the mobile app. But just to be clear that you're setting up your profile and getting everything correct, I would start on the desktop. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Yes, business.nextdoor.com. That's correct.
Figured I would ask it. It would take too long to type, or I'd probably miss it. But do you know what the average, like the demographics of the average user of Nextdoor is? Is it? I guess it depends on the area, but is there any stats on that?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the area. And I looked that up because typically that's something that I really would like to include at the very beginning of a presentation like this. But for the most part, I mean, of course, it will give you kind of the whole picture of the whole country, but it's very similar to Facebook. Lots of female users on here, kind of 30, 35 age range is kind of sweet spot. But again, I was looking at it, and let me make a note. I'm going to send those demographics for you in that email that we send out. But I was looking at two different particular locations, and it was very different. So, that's kind of just like anything. I mean, we have some of our clients shops on Facebook. There's one that has primarily a male audience and they're above 50, and this other one is primarily females that are between 20 and 30 years old. So, it really totally depends on your location and where you are. Great question. Any other questions? Feel free to do what John just did. Unmute yourself. We have a couple of minutes. And I never finish early. I talk too much. So I'm glad that we have some time. So feel free to unmute yourself. If you've already used it, I would love to hear what you've thought about it. And give me a thumbs up. Do you think you're going to go take a peek at it and try it out? Some of you are eating lunch or something. Hey, Trisha. So Maddie, you said that are you using it personally? Are you using it for someone else? Talk to me about how you're using it.
I am currently using it personally. I can tell you as a user, I use it to look up local businesses, see if they have any reviews or anything like that, as well as just happenings in the neighborhood. Like you mentioned, like a lost dog or something like that. And Tricia and I were actually just talking about this earlier. It's funny to scroll through it and think that there are ads on there because they make it seem like it's not an ad. Like I'll read through a post and at the end of it, I'm like, oh wait, I think that was just an ad. And it's hard to tell sometimes. So they do a good job of just kind of embedding that in your feed and, reminding you of that business without pushing it and making it seem like an ad.
They really do. And I think that even the way that they present it, typically like on Facebook, you see sponsored and ad. But the way that they put it on Nextdoor, they're calling you a neighborhood sponsor. It's like it's got a warmer feeling to it, and I think that it has caused people to just engage in it a little bit more. And honestly, y'all, like trades are very popular on there. I often, of course, in my community, I often see people looking for painters. I see people looking for dog groomers, but mechanics and auto repair shops, that's like really one of the top. I see that all the time. It's more common than I was very shocked to see how often people were looking for that. Hey, Tom. Yep, recording it, and we'll send out an email with the slides and the Zoom recording. So you're good. You're good.
That's something too, Kim, that I think is important, is not just the advertising on Nextdoor, but a lot of your shops are the topic of conversation amongst your neighbors. It always makes me really proud. I see Stan right there in his shop. I see on my Nextdoor feed all the time when somebody says who's a good mechanic, because he's in my area feed. But you know, I think to be on there as a neighbor and make sure that your customers know when they're on there as neighbors, that when that topic comes up, that you appreciate the referral and the mention.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things drives me crazy the most, is when people take the moment. You know, it's hard enough to get someone, let's say on Facebook, to click like, you know, to like your post. But when they take a moment to put their fingers to the keyboard and actually comment, you're missing a huge opportunity to engage in that conversation. Stan, do you feel like chatting a little bit about your experience with Nextdoor, just to, you know, follow up a little bit with what Trisha was just saying?
Yeah, sure. Glad to. I don't know, at least a couple of years ago, we realized that Nextdoor was a player, because our customers kept mentioning to us that they found us on Nextdoor. Because when somebody walks in the door, they're either a new customer or a repeat customer. If they're a new customer, what source brought you here? The service advisor has to answer that question. So we quickly added Nextdoor as one of the new sources. I just did a report a while ago, because honestly, I did go on Nextdoor a while back, and I set up a profile to some degree, but I haven't been there in a long time. I don't remember. This is on my desk now to go back and update it and try to be more active with it. But since January 2019, we've had 30 confirmed new customers from Nextdoor, with just pasting, grabbing your business page and not even trying. So, and that's like, I think it was 25,000 they spent without even trying. So yeah, Nextdoor is a player. And do you have any traffic data? I mean, as far as, and this is not a fair question off the cuff, but like their growth, the number of visitors to their sites, as like you would have traffic data for Google or
So that will be something that you will find in your Google Analytics. So if y'all don't already have Google Analytics, it is a free tool. Talk to your web developer, find out if they've already, have access to that. You should have it. That is where you're going to get that data. So I don't have any to share with you, like you said, just right now off the cuff. But for each individual shop, because you're going to have your website address included on your profile, you should be able to go into your Google Analytics and see exactly how many people are coming from the Nextdoor app. Absolutely. And if you're not doing what Stan's doing, including that as a source in your shop software and actually asking that question, at the very least, for sure, go look at your Google Analytics to see where people are coming from, or how many people, I should say, are coming from there. And you can, if you're not familiar with Google Analytics, which I hope that you are, you can sort it by date range. You can look at it, whatever date range you want to see how many people are coming to your site. The other cool thing about Google Analytics is that not only can you see that they came to your site from Nextdoor, but you can follow their traffic flow. They came to your site from Nextdoor, but did they immediately leave, or what did they do after they got there? They hung around on your site for a while. They went to your about page. They went to your blog. They clicked on contact us. They clicked on schedule an appointment, all that kind of stuff. So it's really good, solid information. Any other questions? All right. Well, as I've mentioned, I'm going to record. We've already recorded this class. We'll get that sent over to you, as well as a link to the slides so that you can see those. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna get that question for you, John, with regard to videos, and I'll include some demographics in that email as well. So I'm gonna throw it back over to our friends at IGO NC. By the way, for all of you that are in North Carolina, I mentioned in the beginning, my husband Brian and I owned shops. We were in Raleigh and in the Apex area. Are any of you in the Apex? Kind of Carrie, give me a thumbs up.
I live in
Trisha, I know you. I know. Our shop was Peak Automotive, which was over there on 64 in Apex, and crazy story is gosh, maybe 2 years ago now, I flew up there because one of our team members lives in Raleigh, and I was meeting with him and actually coming to the IGO event, AST, and so I took a trip down memory lane because we were Peak Automotive, and our friend Darren bought, well, he had Peak Auto, which was a restoration shop, and they took over the whole building, and so it's Peak Auto now. But anyway, so Tom said, as you all see in there, that they were voted best repair shop. Yes, I totally left that out. So Nextdoor has its own like awards that you can get, and that just definitely increases, you know, your clout in the community and that sort of thing. So yep, like he said, he splashed it all over. They received a letter from them, and oh, they said you weren't for 2020. Well, you can work on that for 2021, but you did get it in 2019. So anyway, that's another thing. So that's awesome. All right. Thank you all for Jason got the same. Now y'all are speaking up about your, now we're getting ready to get off the call. Well, hope your lunch was great. Thank you everyone for joining us. And Trisha, Maddie, do you have anything before we jump off?
I just want to say thank you. And if you're ever looking for more events or anywhere to go, IGO is always hosting events. As you see, we're not specific to North Carolina, so head over to igonc.com and check out our events. We actually are doing an ADOS training tomorrow night, so hopefully see some of you there. Thanks, Kim. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Bye.